How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys, Alex and Ryan. Sellers, that's the word being thrown around right now via, The Athletic and Ken Rosenthal and some established writers, established journalists. They're saying the Yankees might end up being sellers because they are currently $1.1 million over the last and final luxury tax threshold. And because the Yankees are such a poor team and they have no money to spend, right? The $290 million payroll would certainly suggest that. They want to get below that number. And the article that Ken Rosenthal wrote suggested that they could offload some of these prominent players and they're making next to nothing. You're talking about guys making $1-2 million just to get under that little luxury tax threshold. And the Yankees signing, $25 million per year deal with Star Insurance to add a jersey to patch. And, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make a lot of sense right now with the Yankees. And if you watched yesterday's game, you'll see the Yankees literally cannot hit the baseball. I haven't seen an offense this bad since I don't even think since I've been alive. I honestly don't think I've seen a Yankee offense in my entire life this bad. And I'm 26, Ryan, what are you, 18 years old? We haven't seen it in our life. And you guys that might be even older than us probably haven't seen an offense this bad in your entire life either. You remember the dynasty days of the Yankees years and years and years ago. They were potent. They were phenomenal. They were awesome. And even when they struggled, they put runs on the board. This team can't even get a hit. This team can't even get on base. You're watching some of the worst Yankee offense that we might ever see in our lives right now. And I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't know why we can't hit a guy with a 4.41 ERA coming in or a 7.12 ERA coming in. I don't get it. I don't understand. I'm pissed off. I don't really know what to do from here. And right now, the word sellers is certainly one I'm starting to think about myself. Are the Yankees actually going to do this? I think there is a balance to be had between buying and selling. I think anything the Yankees do buy has to have long-term implications, has to be with the thought that this player can help us in 2024 and not just 2023. That's where I'm at. I'm not going for a rental anymore, guys. Ohtani doesn't make any sense right now unless you have a guarantee or a good chance at bringing him back. Cody Bellinger, you got to know if you're going to go get him that you're extending him. Dylan Carlson, you got to know, and you do know, he's under control to 2027. These are players that have control, and that's what I'm looking at right now. Guys who can impact this team positively in the future, because I am very concerned that we're going to try and fix this team right now at the deadline, and it's going to end up blowing up in our faces once again. And I'm very concerned about it, Ryan. Looking at this team, how do you feel about the word sellers? How do you feel about the idea of a balance between buying and selling and retooling for the future?
Yeah, so we're in a weird spot, man. So the Yankees, number one, are kind of like they're good enough that they can make the playoffs if things go right for them, but they're not good enough, it feels like, to seriously compete in the postseason. Now, baseball is the highest variance sport of the major three sports in North America, so I do believe that there is merit to the idea that if you just get in, you put yourself in position to at least, get some decent result in the postseason. But with that being said, Alex, I think you can agree with me here. It doesn't really feel like these are the group of guys that will get it done. And, kind of projecting here, playing the odds, right? Obviously, odds are not, a guarantee. There have been teams that have really bad odds to win the World Series that have gone out to win the World Series. But at 2.3% odds, the Yankees are closer to 15th than they are to 10th in terms of likelihood to win the World Series. We're talking there with teams like the Brewers, the Marlins, the Diamondbacks. And Alex, do you view any of those teams as winning the World Series? Because I certainly don't. So if you don't think those teams can win the World Series, you certainly can't think this team's going to win the World Series. I know that one of the popular names that's going to be thrown around is like Gleyber Torres. I'm not sold on trading Gleyber Torres just yet. Now, obviously, if the value is there, you make that trade. But I think he's one of their better hitters. He's 26 years old. This team needs offense. I'm looking more to sell bullpen pieces. I'm looking more to sell like guys that are expiring at the end of the season. So if you can move Harrison Bader, that would be a good idea. Especially considering you have two outfield prospects that are heating up. Jace Dominguez playing a lot better in Double-A. Not saying he's going to be an option for the 2024 team, but it's good to see him produce a little bit more. You feel a little bit more confident that he can turn it around, especially since the underlying data is really good for him. You obviously have Everson Pereira, who's put together a really strong season in Triple-A thus far after getting promoted a couple of weeks ago and absolutely torching Double-A. So, I think ultimately you're looking at a team that's trying to get younger. They're the fourth oldest position player group in all of baseball, not the American League. That's not great, right? They make rookie mistakes. It feels like they're not a very fundamental ball club. And I know that's a very cliche thing to say. I think the Yankees have run, at least for the most part, fundamentally sound teams. You get that 2021 team, they got a little bit faster, they got a little bit younger, they got a little bit more athletic, and that team was able to play a little bit better. They made some adjustments. Gio at shortstop, some Andrew Velasquez, Tyler Wade played a little bit better in that second half. You obviously had Rizzo and Gallo come in, and they were at least improvements defensively. This team feels like it doesn't really do a lot of things fundamentally well outside of pitching, right? Like even pitch selection, like Michael King, why are we throwing a fastball at Shohei Ohtani? This isn't even the first time he's made some really poor pitch selections. And for people paying attention to the games, I think they know that there are certain pitch calls that are just not good enough, right? In terms of, your starting pitchers, some of these guys aren't giving you enough length, right? Like Severino, for the most part, has not given you a chance to compete. So you feel like you're not getting fundamental baseball from him. Offensively, the Yankees have since the 60s, right? So since 1961, this Yankee offense is a bottom 10 Yankee offense. This is at a 94 WRC plus, the 10th worst offense in the last half century, right? So that's terrible. That's not acceptable. And, we're talking historically bad offenses. We're talking, a slow, boring team, one that you really don't want to watch. The product isn't good enough. The on-field play isn't good enough. I think that's why we're getting a lot of more talks about shakeups than just the Yankees are going to go in and buy.
I mean, look, man, buying right now feels like a huge mistake unless I can't sit here and act like one player is going to change the whole course of this team because it's not. Anthony Rizzo is having one of the coldest stretches of his entire career right now. Stanton showed a little bit of life and then he disappeared again. DJ LeMahieu, had some good games out of the All-Star break, but it hasn't been consistent this entire season. Anthony Volpe, holy shit, the guy has been bad. I mean, he had a hit yesterday, one of the 2 hits that we had, but wow, I mean. Volpe, man, I don't know if you got to have some more chicken parm. I don't know what the hell is going on. But to me, with Volpe, it's confidence-based. Like, you see he gets hot. You see he starts to ramp up. You see he starts to see the ball better. And then he just gets in his own head and it just goes, just plummets into the abyss. And his confidence, and you can see after every at-bat, after every strikeout, after every out, his head is hanging. He's banging the bat on the floor. He's smacking his helmet. You know what I mean? Like, it's the body language that's very indicative of what is going on inside of his head. And I think he has the raw talent. He just doesn't put it together because mentally I think he gets too consumed. These guys need a sports psychologist or something. They need a psychologist to go in there and change their freaking mental attitude because right now you can see it on their faces. They look shell-shocked. They don't look confident. They're not committing to the process. And obviously, what's his name? Boone is saying that Sean Casey has made an impact and has made some changes. I'm certainly not seeing it. 2 freaking hits yesterday, guys, against Patrick Sandoval, who had a 4.41 ERA going into the game. And look, people make the argument that Judge coming back to the lineup will give chances for other players to hit. Pitchers, they'll get pitches to hit. Guys, they're getting pitches to hit right now. They're getting pitches to hit now. They're just not freaking hitting them. They're missing right down the middle. Good pitches. They're just not hitting the ball well. I don't know what to say about it. And ultimately, right now, my entire perspective is you don't have to necessarily sell, but what you do have to do is you have to go out and you have to find players who have long-term positive impact. You do not need to find the Benintendi's or the Frankie Montas's, and even the Montas isn't the worst thing because he had an extra year of control. Like in terms of context, obviously he hasn't played at all for us, but a player that has another year of control is not a bad thing. We need multiple players. I just don't know how much it's going to cost. Ryan, you delved into this kind of trade deadline plan yesterday in this ridiculously awesome article, and you broke down a whole plan on how the Yankees can turn this thing around, and it involved acquiring multiple players. Notably, you had Eduardo Rodriguez, you had Cody Bellinger, you had Dylan Carlson, Floro. Go into that for a second because you had a really good plan yesterday that gives us some long-term hope, but also it protects us from like destroying everything, in the near term. You can compete now with some additional pieces, but you also have the next couple of years with some team control that definitely helps.
Yeah, so, the big thing for me when it comes to the Yankees deadline plans is I want them to get better, but I also want them to get younger. All right, I cited this already earlier, 4th oldest roster in terms of position players in Major League Baseball. This team's an old team, right? And they don't really have an established core. I've also talked about this on podcasts like what is the Yankees core? What does it look like? You want to start assembling pieces for that, right? One of the big things I think is really, one of the few bright spots from this season is the progression of a lot of prospects prospects. Like, Spencer Jones kind of been up and down all year, but the walk rate's climbing through the roof now. He's making some adjustments at the plate. It really looks like he's a little more locked in. His WRC plus in high A is 121. They have guys, that were not notable names before. I know you sent me a text about this. Carlos Narvaez has been a nice, a player for the Yankees at AAA, a catcher, work with the Yankees in spring training. So, there is some rapport with the major league guys. You obviously have Austin Wells, Jason Dominguez, his first full season at AA, Everson Pereira. You have plenty of success stories. I mean, on the pitching side of the ball, I could go on a laundry list of success stories they have on that front. At least from a farm perspective, this team's getting better. They have 6 top 100 prospects according to Baseball America, which is really one of the most reputable sites when it comes to prospects. And I think the issue isn't, they do not have internal talent. Like we recorded episodes talking about Shohei Ohtani, Juan Soto, and the Yankees can feasibly trade for one of those two guys, considering their farm strength. Not saying they will, but they reasonably could. Having a lot of young talent, it at least gives you that hope. This team in the deadline needs to get younger. I think Carlson would be a really good fit because he's a young guy and he gets on base a lot. Like, this dude is walking a ton. He's cut his chase rate in his last, I believe, in his last 98 plate appearances, he has a 22% chase rate, 8.1% swinging strike rate. This is a contact machine who can get on base a lot. I think that helps you. There's some upside there. The Yankees have a lot of success with guys like this. Think Didi Gregorius. I know Aaron Hicks's extension didn't work out, but when he did first come over, this is a really good ball player. So they have some success with doing stuff like that. So I do buy into this idea they can get a little bit more out of Carlson, especially with that short right porch. Bellinger's a rental. I get that, but you get exclusive negotiating rights with Bellinger and a little bit of a sample size to see how he plays in New York. I think he should be your center fielder. I think he should be the Yankee center fielder now. I think they should buy and sell in terms of like trade Bader. Maybe you move Torres if the offer is there. And strengthen, get a Bellinger, get a Carlson, make your outfield, kind of assemble that outfield for the future if you'd like to. You don't have to get both. Maybe you just get one. I know, again, like Pereira being there helps. If Pereira has a really strong month of July and you only get one outfielder, call him up. I don't see the harm in that. You've seen it with Peraza thus far. I know yesterday wasn't a great day, but, overall, you're seeing good at bats and you're seeing a patient approach at the plate. I think that's going to work for him. His glove is also very, very good, which, is something that I think is going to help him play at the major league level. I don't know if you saw, but he made the 10th hardest throw for an infielder yesterday at 91.9 miles per hour at third base. Ridiculous arm strength. I think you just, Alex, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this. This year doesn't look like a World Series year, but this year could be a year like 2016 where you get an understanding of some of the young guys in your farm and you at least feel some progression heading into next year. Right now, we just need some sort of direction. We want to feel like the organization took a step forward in some sense. It doesn't just have to be a World Series. And I think selling and making the right moves, and even if you still buy, just making the right acquisitions at deadline could put the Yankees in a position that in 2024, you feel great about this team. What do you think, Alex?
Look, that's the way forward. The way forward is walking away from this trade deadline, knowing that there is positive stuff going on in the future. You know what I mean? Like, this could be really bad where like we don't know where the team goes after 2023. Like, we're just stuck with these aging contracts. We're stuck with these players that aren't performing. We're stuck with these bad guys who just are not contributing at all. But we have an opportunity here to actually add some nice pieces, leverage some of the guys that are going to be blocked in the future. Some of those prospects that aren't going to make an impact, like Austin Wells, the guy, they're not using him. Like, trade Austin Wells. They use his value now before it plummets because he's getting older. He's 24 years old. They're not elevating him. He's got a good bat that we wanted to see. They're not giving him the chance. They don't know where he's going to play defensively. Leverage him. Carlos Narvaez, you talked about him before, having a tremendous year. Leverage him. Estevan Florial, I don't even think he has any trade value anymore. I don't even know why the hell he's taking up a roster spot. You might as well just freaking cut him at this point. The Estevan Florial saga has confused me more than anything I've seen because meanwhile, he's having one of the best seasons in AAA, but we're running out Franchi fucking Cordero, who's hitting 155 and hasn't even seen the field in months. He had like 1 game or 2 games worth of action. Why is Franchi Cordero on the 40-man roster? Why is Willie Calhoun still on the 40-man roster? He's fucking injured. Why is Billy McKinney? I mean, look, Billy McKinney had a little hot start, but he's not a good player. He never has been. He was a former top prospect, but he's never been a good MLB player. Jake Bauers, he's been a good supplementary piece. I like Jake Bauers. I think you keep Jake Bauers, but I can't even fathom why some of these guys have roster spots. Can't even fathom. Meanwhile, we are the most reluctant team to use our youth. Everson Pereira is killing it in AAA after being promoted. Give him an opportunity over Franchi Cordero, for God's sakes. Give some of these guys opportunities that have been trying to earn it. They want to perform well. These guys are just showing up to show up. There's no fresh blood. Like, think about what Oswaldo Cabrera did last year when he came onto the scene. And he made such an impact because he wanted it, man. Like, you could feel like Oswaldo Cabrera wanted it, and some of these other guys didn't. Right now, the Yankees do not want it. You see it on their faces. They do not want it. They do not look like they want it. They need to bring in guys who have something to fight for. These guys, Pereira, Wells, Narvaez, whoever it might be, Ben Rortvedt even, they have something to fight for, a job in the MLB, a future in the league. That is something that I think, pushes players to be better. And ultimately, like, we just haven't seen it. And that's, and it's sad. Like, the roster decisions confuse me. I don't necessarily get it. I know a lot of you guys don't either. But right now, I'm thinking about what can we do now to protect our future, because this team is going like this off a cliff. Right now, you have an opportunity to leverage some of these young guys who you're not going to use anyway, because we don't do that, and use them to go get players with some control, players with some upside that can actually benefit this team long term and give you some hope for the future instead of, there are good old bones on this team. Like, Stanton can still be a good player, I think. He can still hit the ball hard and hit home runs. Judge will be healthy next year. You know what I mean? Like, there are guys that can be positive contributors, but you need to bring in more above average bats, because right now this team is not, it's feeble, it's failing. The offense is something that I haven't seen in my entire life. It's that bad, guys. There needs to be changes. We can't do the same things. And I'll leave you with this. When you do the same thing over and over again, thinking it's going to work, that's a definition of insanity. Right now, the Yankees are insane because they're doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results, and it's not sustainable. And clearly, we're seeing that on the field. We're seeing that on the stat sheets. We're seeing that individually for players. If you do the same things, it's not going to work, and they need to change it up. I don't know what needs to happen. Need some fresh blood in here, but some guys got to start losing jobs. Some guys got to start getting benched, because right now, there is, like, just giving guys starting jobs for this. Good teams don't do this. Struggling teams, they don't ride with this level of bullshit. They don't ride with this. They bring up their young guys. They say, you know what? Not going to perform. We don't give a shit how much you're getting paid. That's the problem with overpaying aging veterans for what it's worth, by the way. It makes it that much harder to freaking bench them when they suck. And the Yankees have so many old contracts, they can't bench these guys because they're paying them $20, $30 million. And it's just, they can't swallow it. You cut Aaron Hicks, Josh Donaldson going down. It sucks that he got that injury, but it gives Oswald Peraza an opportunity. It's unfortunate, but here we are sitting and talking about selling at the deadline as a New York Yankee fan. You know what I mean? Selling at the deadline for the Yankees is like apocalyptic in my eyes. I never thought I'd be sitting here saying it. I never thought this would be a reality, but it is. We need to be thinking about the future, long-term success. How can we retool this team to be good down the line? Like you said, big variance sport. The Yankees could turn this thing around, but they're going to need an act of God to get this offense back on track. And I don't know what that looks like, but Jesus ain't coming back anytime soon, my friends. He is not saving the Yankees. We can't walk on water. We got to hit the freaking baseball. And that's ultimately the truth. And how it's going to unfold over the next couple weeks, we will let you guys know on Fireside Yankees. Make sure to like and subscribe as always. I'm going to catch you guys on the next episode.